Welcome to Eagle Communications Channel 2. My name is James Holland. I'm the Executive Director of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce, and this is Abilene Means Business, the monthly show put on by the Chamber where we are highlighting members and some of their business endeavors in Abilene. And today we have the Heritage Homes Association, which is one of our nonprofit members there at the Chamber. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what the Heritage Homes is, kind of what the founding of it was, what the purpose of it was, and then talk a little bit about current events related to the Heritage Homes. And this is actually a very timely recording because as you're seeing this, they're actually having an event that you'll be able to attend and buy tickets for and that sort of thing. So be listening for that and follow up with that when the program is over here. So anyway, today I have with me Nance Scholl, local resident historian extraordinaire, correct?
Okay.
Right? Chris Osterman, she has one of the homes that's going to be on the tour this year, correct? And then Dwayne Schrag, who is the El Presidente of the Heritage Homes Association. So we got a couple of softball questions, and we'll see where these lead. But tell whichever one of you wants to talk. Basically, tell us a little bit about what the Heritage Homes is, kind of when it started and what its purpose is.
Sure, I'll get started with this, but Nance really is the expert on this. She's the one with the most history with the organization, and as you mentioned, she is probably Abilene's leading historian at this point. So the association's mission really is to preserve the heritage homes in Abilene and the area. We sort of regard homes as being in many ways a personification of the residents' aspirations, their goals, and so they kind of represent a unique artifact that tells us something about the people who live here and who lived here before. The association's roots are directly with the Dickinson County Historical Society, and we continue to have strong ties with the Historical Society. We support them with some of our money. Nance, I think, could probably give us a little bit of the history of how it came about. It's been, maybe 30 years, a little more than 30 years ago that the Heritage Home Association was established. Is that right, Nance?
1988. It was established in 1988. It came from the Preservation Committee with the Historical Society and grew into an entity of its own from there.
And so some of the early accomplishments, or at least what was done to kind of set the groundwork, and what does it take to be a heritage home? I think that's an important part of it.
50 years. House has to be 50 years old or older. The homeowner, with our help, researches the home, finds its what I call birth date, and from there submit their information to the historic heritage homes, and then it is awarded. The home is awarded a bronze plaque. We've marked right at a little over 100 homes so far. Mm-hmm. And as you drive through town, you'll see those plaques on the different homes by the front door.
Yep, absolutely.
You have one, and so do I, and so does Dwayne,
yeah.
And Chris soon will.
Yep. So there's 100 some odd people, homes in town that do
Mm-hmm.
have these. And to kind of piggyback on one of the things that Dwayne said was, and it's something that I'm interested in because, of course, the Chamber of Commerce actually dates back about 87 years, 88 years. So it's been around for a long time. And, of course, at that time, there were a lot of the industrialists, the entrepreneurs that came to, the Cowtown were still here. And that's the generation of homes we're talking about. So talking about personification of a community, I think both the downtown and the historic buildings, the ones that are still standing, the ones we've lost, unfortunately, and the homes are reminders of what people can do in their businesses. And I like to say that, communities go through phases, and I'm hoping that we have another phase coming up where business really revs up and people are purchasing these homes and taking care of them and maybe even restoring some of them. So I think that's a wonderful reminder for the business person now of what this community can provide them in their livelihoods. So, now this is, I'll point this, show this to you here if you want to zoom in on that. This book here features some 50 some odd homes with some of the basic information. This was put together by the Heritage Homes Association some number of years ago. Tell me a little bit about this particular book here.
It's a wonderful coffee table book.
Yes.
Everybody should have one. It is no longer in print. Like you said, it has 50 different homes that have been selected to be put in the book, dating from 1877 to about 1924, I believe it is. I think all of those homes have been marked. It was a way to promote the historical homes of our community. Most communities go to downtown, start restoring their downtown, and then the houses kind of get caught up.
Yeah.
Abilene's different. We did the houses first.
Yeah.
And now the downtown's starting to pick up. But we came to town because of an old house. I think most everybody does,
Right.
or a lot of us.
Yeah, and you just sparked something in my memory, was that was right about the same time the Tegens brothers were starting to work on the Seeley Mansion. And it seems to me like there was, at that time, I mean, the 80s in downtown, the early 80s in downtown was pretty bleak. No, 1980s.
Okay.
The economy wasn't very good. There were a lot of storefronts and things were in bad shape. But all of a sudden, you started to see this preservation ethic kind of creep in. And it was like, well, what is that person doing in that building? Oh, that's neat. And all of a sudden, there were more people gaining interest in that.
You're big on the bandwagon.
Well, yeah, and that was, but it was their legitimate interest in it and their investment in it that's actually preserved many of these homes in their as close as you could to their natural state. So, but kind of you're involved in lots of other things like the Heritage Commission. Can you talk a little bit about the preservation ethic that there is here in town?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, you're so involved in it, so I figured maybe you had some.
Sure, I could add a little bit. I think it's true that Abilene has a very rich heritage, and we are enthusiastic about the opportunity to preserve a lot of these older buildings that really are sort of living and ongoing indicators of a different era. Robin and I just got back from vacation and spent some time in a suburb outside Atlanta, and what really struck us was this. This was a beautiful, preserved, not preserved, new, but made it look old community that had all of the look and feel of what is authentically in Abilene.
Right.
And people, I think, often forget how important and what a rare thing it is today to be able to have that quality and that character. And so one of the things that the Heritage Homes Association tries to do then is hang on to that, because it really is difficult and much more expensive to recreate it than it is to preserve it and keep it going.
Right. Yeah, and I would say some of the craftsmanship has changed so much over the years, the building trades, that there's a lot of lost art to a lot of things. And I could go into examples that I've had to try to deal with in older homes, and it's kind of a shame that some of the trades have kind of gone the way they have, and I hope that there's a revival. I'm hoping that as colleges become less affordable, more people will look at the trades and actually have a very good skill and art at it, and so hopefully those things will happen. But anyway, that's an aside, I suppose. So.
One thing you might mention, through marking your home with Heritage Homes, it could lead up to National or State Register listings.
Right.
And through the state of Kansas, there is tax credit incentives and Heritage Trust Fund grant to help homeowners with their homes,
Yep.
providing they're on one of the registers. So there is some money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then the difference between the Heritage Homes is a local organization, whereas being listed on the National or State Historic Register of Places, that is more of a Park Service designation. But if you're a heritage home, a lot of the documentation to do an application for the National or State Historic Register is already done, or
Your
at least
groundwork,
at least there's some groundwork done
Yeah.
there. So, so that's so they are two different things. But you're right as far as incentives to take care of old buildings and bring them new life and bring them new economic activity. Those tax credit programs from the federal government and state are can be significant if you do it right. You know?
Yeah.
So, yep, absolutely. So, okay. Well, tell us what's kind of coming up here. I mean, it's kind of the season now. We're hitting the fall. What's right around the corner for
Our
the
Homes
Heritage Homes?
Tour is the first full weekend in December, which is December 5th and 6th. On Saturday, it's from 4 to 8 p.m., and Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. Tickets are just $10. You'll see 4 wonderful homes. The Volkman Cabinet Historical Society. This year's church is Faith Lutheran Church up on North Buckeye. And, at the Historical Society, you get refreshments too.
Yep.
So you get goodies.
Well, and I've been on the tour, so I think a lot of them do have something, unless they're concerned about the carpets or something with people walking through. Yeah. So there's a complete list here of homes that are coming up. And one of them would be, it says here, the Osterman's house, although I know it's called the Engel Home, correct? Chris, you want to talk a little bit about that property and what you guys are up to?
We purchased the property in December of 2014 and was just going to renovate it, and we fell in love with it and decided to move there. And we're creating, the home will be called the Engel House Bed and Breakfast, and will be part of the Christmas holiday tour. And also, this home has been kind of quiet for the last 50 years. And I call it Abilene's newest treasure.
Yep.
The home is absolutely stunning. It's arts and crafts, mission style, and it's built by Jacob Kruger. And we actually found his name actually signed on the top floor and actually on the baseboards. It has his printing that he actually built the house. So. Yeah. Very excited. It's a work in progress, but it's a well-loved home.
Yeah.
If I could add one more thing about that, one of the things I particularly appreciate about the work that you guys are doing there with that home is that, its location is up here on North Buckeye. It's almost, for people coming into town from the north, which is where a good amount of our out-of-town traffic comes in off of I-70, it's one of the first homes that they're going to see after they go past the businesses by the interstate. And it is so great to see this home blossoming, and I really think it puts a good face on Abilene. To have this, the work that you're doing. So we really do appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us how the homeowner decides to be on the Homes Tour, and what does it take to do that? Because I know there's a lot of preparation, and I've heard horror stories about getting prepared, although I don't know of anybody who would say the experience wasn't well worth it. So, kind of tell me a little bit about how that's going.
Well, we extend the invitation. This year we've been very fortunate that 2 of the homeowners have said, can we be on the tour? We finally were able to put our home on several years ago, and I felt it was quite an honor to be able to share, as Chris I'm sure will feel too, and Dwayne and Robin have been on the tour, and you will someday, to be able to share your work, the work that you've put into your sweat equity, and then to show it to people, and then they come in and they ooh and ah, and it makes you a good feeling that I did something really good. Preparation is kind of up to the homeowner as to how long, depending on how much decorating they do. If you do a
Right.
lot, you got to put lots of time in, but
Yeah.
it's not that big a deal. We don't ask you to go out and buy new decorations or do something different. We ask you to do what you do normally, what your family traditions are. And then, like I said, the tour is those 2 days, and then you go away going, wow, that was a good experience.
Yeah. So in tours past, and I've been on 2 or 3 of them. I've done the tour. What do you think is kind of one of the neatest stories that's kind of come out of that? I mean, was it somebody who came from a very long distance, or was it somebody that went through a house that was their grandfather's, or is there anything like that anecdote that really sticks in your mind about the tours of the past?
All of it. Some of them, families have come, this is their family tradition. It's mom, dad, the kids, boys and girls that come. Some it's a group of ladies, their church group or their club. This is a tradition. Some have just come because they saw it advertised. And you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, certainly. We've lived in our home here since 2003, not so long, and right away we had heard a lot of pretty interesting stories about previous owners, stories that included alligators in the basement, and we were polite, but a little skeptical, and so. One of the things that came out of having our home on the tour was to have a lot of people come up to us and share stories, all of which added credibility. And then what happened after that was that a family member actually showed up at our door with a photograph of the alligators in the backyard and confirmed it. So it is what we find is the event does help bring to the fore some of the history that. Nance digs up a lot of information that's in public records in the courthouse and newspaper clippings, but there are a lot of things that fall between the cracks, and so the event is a good way to have some of that come forward, is what we found.
Yeah, and that's really neat because it further documents some of the neat things about Abilene that the old timers and would be lost, frankly, if it wasn't passed on. And I kind of get the sense that the home store really brings a lot of people to Abilene, because Abilene, when this organization got started, I think it kind of got the nickname Little House of Mansions, because at one time it wasn't a much larger geographical size, but there were more people lived here at one time, and so you do have some of the grandiose homes that you may not see in a town that was always this size, for instance. So, but tell me, I mean, how you get a lot of people from great distances come for the?
Oh, we've had them as far away as Missouri. We've had people from overseas. We've had people from both coasts. Some come just because they're visiting family. Oh, there's a tour, let's go. And others make it a point to come from all over.
Yeah, we have, it's the attendance is a function of a combination of things. Weather, of course, is a big variable, and since people are going to be going out of their cars and into several homes, that can really change the turnout. I think that typically we have somewhere between 300 and 800 people. We had an exceptionally large tour last year because there were some really unusual homes, one in an old schoolhouse, one in an old barn, and there was a lot of interest in it. I think there's a lot of interest in Chris and Scott's home this year, so it'll be interesting to see if that draws. One of the things that I'd like to add is that the home tour really is our organization's primary event, I think it's fair to say. And the money that comes from that really goes for, at this point, for two main things. One is to plaque the homes. So we mentioned that you can get the history on a house that's at least 50 years old. We would like to do that and put a plaque on it. Those plaques are fairly expensive. They're nice bronze plaques. And so the money goes for those plaques, but also there's a portion that we always set aside for the Historical Society. that goes to a project that they designate. So they recently added some very nice roller shelves for some of these, for many of the older city tax books. These are invaluable references for looking at what happened year after year, and handling them with care is important. And the way they were stored before wasn't that conducive to it. So that's one of the projects that we've done with the Homes Tour money, and we continue to work with them on new projects.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Tay, as we kind of wrap up here, I wanted to kind of say that I think there's a renewed interest in interior design. I think we see it with HGTV, we see it with all these different things people are into, and I think a lot of these homes, some of them have their historic character, but of course some of them over the years have been updated, and so I think it plays to the tour plays to a lot of different people. If you're interested in interior design and some of the new kitchens and also some of the historical fixtures and pocket doors and those kind of beautiful things, this tour is for you if you have an interest in that. And it's it's not every day that you get to go into a private residence and see the beauty that does exist in them. And big kudos to all the people both in the past and the present who have let their house be on the tour. And I know it's been a lot of people over the years because the tour has been going on for
This is the
quite a while.
39th year Abilene has had a consecutive homes tour.
See.
We don't know of any other community in the state, maybe the nation, that can
Yeah.
brag that.
Yeah, that's really significant. So if somebody, real quickly here, what are the dates again, and how can somebody find out about tickets?
December 5th and 6th, tickets are sold at the Visitor Center at the old Union Pacific Depot down on 2nd Street. Again, they're just $10, or you can get them at the Dickinson County Historical Society.
Okay, so there's two places to find them in town, two prominent places. They're not hard to find. So if you have any interest in being a part of the Homes Tour, when I say being part of, attending and going through it, or if you're somebody here in Abilene who has an older home and you have an interest in the history and heritage of your home and documenting those things, I think this is the organization to get in touch with. So I want to thank all three of you for participating today. And once again, this is Abilene Means Business, and I think this is certainly something that brings business to town and has a niche, and it's very good for the community. So anyway, I will see you next month. Once again, I'm James Holland with the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce, and this has been Abilene Means Business.